Hey, what's up, YouTube? Oh. What's up, YouTube? How are you doing? Coming back with you on a new video, and I'm going to be talking about my second year experience as a TFA Spanish teacher in LA. And the categories are going to be the same, which are TFA obligations, insecurities, mental emotional impact, and curriculum, Spanish curriculum. And so let me begin with Spanish curriculum. So how different? So last year I taught a Spanish to native classes and a Spanish to non-natives. And now I teach only Spanish to native and a Spanish literature honors course. So to be honest, when they told me that I was going to be teaching a Spanish literature course, they didn't tell me honors. And so when I saw it on the, I don't even know what I saw, but I think it was like a roster or something, and it had the subject, and it said honors, and it just made me like I just felt more pressure to I just felt like there was more pressure there as a more rigorous class that I had to create. But honestly, that class has been my the biggest challenge this year, because the resources are completely new, and yes, there's more liberty in choosing the type of text that I want students to read, but I also have to create those analysis questions and all of that. And that takes up a lot of time. I have to create my own study guides, tests. I have to create that all by scratch. Native 2, I find myself recycling 80% of the time, which saves me so much time. And yeah, I recycle it, but I don't use the same exact thing. Obviously, I have to modify it based on my students, based on the pace of our class, whatever it may be. And it definitely, Spanish Lit has kicked my butt. Like, yes, I enjoy literature, but it's another thing to teach it. And there's different interpretations. If English literature is hard, imagine Spanish literature. It's a whole different level for the students. And what we've been reading is, in the last semester, we read Los 20 Poemas de Amor y una canción por Pablo Neruda. We also read El Gringo Viejo, which is a novel. And so I enjoyed first semester, but second semester has been kind of tricky. I had them read short stories, and I felt like that was way too easy for an honors class. And so I decided to include another novel, and it's called La Ciudad y los Perros. And
I feel like this text is so hard, and so
I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's just, I feel like it's too late to change, because the students are already I've already exposed them to the material. I can't just like, oops, let's go do another thing. And we also started literature circles, which is it's otro rollo, as you can imagine. And I think the first circle and the first conversation was awkward. It was bad. They didn't know what to write. They did not comprehend the text completely. And so I hope the second one and the preparing of the literature circle was much better the second time. The conversations are going to take place next week, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, I think that's basically for Spanish curriculum. So now step number 2, or point number 2, is mental and emotional health. I'm going to take a break here and eat my orange chicken. I don't even know what this is, but it's good. Okay, so in regards to how mental and emotional health, how teaching affects my mental emotional health my second year was not as intense as last year. I felt like last year I was crying so much because of all the damage I was doing to the kids and how the kids treated me. And this year, I feel like I have classroom management overall. I mean, I still struggle with fifth and sixth period, and those are just naturally, they are classes that are after lunch, and so they're just like, oh. But I think that now I don't cry but I don't cry in regards to classroom behavior, classroom management, because that was all last year. But this year, I remember crying like a couple times, but because of admin issues and just frustration. And I think this semester, it has been really difficult because I'm like almost done. And I know what my plan is after this school year, and I just want to end already. And so it's very hard to maintain positive, and to wake up every morning is always a challenge. And I feel like it's more challenging these last couple months than it was my entire TFA experience, just because I'm almost at the end of the finish line. And I try every single day, but I think I sleep more, definitely. I used to sleep like 4 to 5 hours a day last year, and this year I've slept from 6 to 7 hours. Usually 6 hours, but that's because I like do other things. But I this past year I've had time to work on Poshmark stuff. I've had time to go to the coffee shop and to hang out over there and do all those things. For the most part, I still have to, work. So what a day looks like for me this year is I wake up at 4:40, or depends if I am going to wash my hair. If I wash my hair, I wake up usually around 5:40 in the morning. I know that is super early, but that is my routine. And if I don't have to wash my hair, then I wake up at 4:50, at 5 o'clock. And then I leave from my house at 5:45. I get to school around 6:30 or 6:45. If I notice that the gates aren't open, I usually take like a 10-minute nap in my car until the gate is open for me to come in. I am always the first teacher there. Always, like 90%, like 98% of the time. I get there before the principal gets there. I get there before everybody, basically. I'm gonna finish this. It's gonna be a pain to edit this, but whatever. I'm multitasking. And then I get to school, and I'm there from 8 a.m. all the way to 4 p.m. And then I usually don't stay after school. I go directly home. Sometimes I go to the coffee shop to hang out there for about an hour, or I go eat with my parents. So that's and I get to the coffee shop around 5 p.m. and leave around 6 p.m. Come home, I rest a bit, and I start working at 7 p.m. So from 7 to 9, I am working, and I've been working at the CSUN library, and I use my sister's Wi-Fi login because she goes to CSUN, and so shout out to her. Woo! I just blurred out. Okay. I usually work there because the library is awesome. So from 7 to 9 I'm there. and then I get back here, and I should go to sleep at 10 p.m. I could sleep at 10 p.m. if I manage my time wisely, but usually I end up like talking to people scrolling on Instagram or watching YouTube videos or whatever. I just like waste time for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours. Sometimes I sleep at until 11 p.m. and I know I shouldn't, but like it happens. And I've been making a goal to sleep at 10 p.m. I even created an alarm for me to sleep. But that is what my day-to-day looks like, honestly. But yes, it's definitely much better. It gets better. So that's it for mental emotional health. The next one is insecurities, and I mentioned a little bit about this not too long ago. My first year experience, the biggest insecurity was like, I do not know enough Spanish to do this job. And obviously I've grown and I've learned so much, not just about Spanish, but also just as a human being, and also how teenagers work. Like, it's just a whole new freaking world out there, and just teenagers now versus back when I was a teenager, it's very different. My high school experience looks very different from the students, from the lives of the students that I teach. And so I definitely had to learn that culture that they live in, and it's different, very different. And I don't want people to think that, oh, you're Latina, you know the struggle, you know this. And I do know. Sometimes there are things that can only be spoken between our race, or that we understand the struggles. For example, some of my students have expressed concerns of undocumentation, things that they probably wouldn't tell teachers that don't go through this. For example, white people, or people that were born here, basically. And I talk about undocumentation all the time. And I remember the very first day I opened up to that. I opened about my family and how that is my community. My tío was deported. I had tíos that were detained. I also had, most of my family is undocumented. And so these are things that I open up to the students, because that's really the only thing that I can connect students with besides the language. Because culture, it varies based on the regions that their parents come from, or maybe where they come from. For example, we have people from Guatemala, from El Salvador, Honduras. We also, they come from different regions of Mexico as well. So based on culture, we can be very, very different, even though we look the same, right? Oh no, my battery's dead. But anyways, so there's that. And I think my biggest insecurity would be just, how do I teach kids that just don't get it, like 100% do not get it, and they themselves can identify what they don't get. And so that's my struggle right now, because I think I can find a way, but it's just hard to think on the spot, like, what's the solution? And that has been my insecurity. It's not something that, wow, I blurred out again. Ooh, okay. And then the last thing, I believe, was TFA obligations. The obligations are the same except without LMU. I don't have to go to LMU. And so that is all for today. That is, basically. And I hope you enjoyed this video and it was informative. And I want everyone to know that it just gets 110% better. It gets way, way better. I highly, highly suggest, if you do end up in TFA and it's hard the first year, do not quit. Do not quit. finish it and do not quit in the middle of the year, because that affects the students and it's a very selfish move. You're in it for the long run. You cannot just do TFA and quit. That's not how things work. That is not how life works. So that is it, folks. I hope help you carry this with you, and please subscribe, like the YouTube video, share it with those who you think would be beneficial, who would find this video beneficial. And I just appreciate the people that watch this. I do this for all of you. I don't do this for me. I find it very easy to talk to a camera, and why not use the power of social media, the power of YouTube to reach the truth, and to not reach the truth, but share the truth and share my truth as a TFA Corp member. All right, see you guys later.